Revelation 12 verse 9 says, "And the great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him." Genesis 3 verse 1 says, "Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that had made. He said to the woman, 'Did actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden?'" These two scriptures should tell you that the enemy is a deceiver. Let's go. In the film The Matrix, which is also a documentary, when the character Morpheus is asked by the character Neo, "What is the Matrix?" he responds, "The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us, even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth." What Morpheus did not say, though, is that this is a satanic matrix. Let's talk about it. In this year of 2026, it is safe to say that so much information has been revealed that has confirmed to us that much of what we were taught growing up was and is a lie. And that is because the little g God of this world has deceived the whole world, just like Revelation 12:9 says. And the enemy does this through programming. Now, there are some versions of programming that is very obvious, but the ones that are very strategic are the background programming, the ones that you just pass every day and never really question. Remember when you were young and you went to school and you saw that globe or sphere of the countries on the teacher's desk? And you would go up to it and you would play with it and you would spin it around. And then at some point in the lesson, the teacher would call your attention to this globe. But as you started to grow up in this world, you never really questioned or investigated if this were true. You just went along with the programming. That is a part of the matrix. You are just made to believe what you are taught or what you see. But does scripture actually support what we see in the physical as it pertains to this globe? Let's see what scripture says as it pertains to space, NASA, science, and many of the things that we were told growing up. Let's get into it. If you are like myself, when you first heard about NASA and space, you were fascinated. You wanted to know more, because surely the Bible does not speak of this vast darkness with a ball spinning in it and flying through this darkness. So then you start to pursue this knowledge. And it is this pursuit of knowledge that leads one away from the Father's word and his version of creation into the hands of the beast and his version of creation. Now, when you look at the image on the left, that is the physical view of NASA. It's just some red letters with a logo representing an agency. But when you look at it through spiritual lens, it looks more like the image on the right. It is an agency ran by the two-tongued serpent that is mentioned in Revelations 12:9, the one who deceives the entire world. Now, to give some background on the origins of NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, let's hear Candace Owens talk about it. Now, disclaimer, just because I am using video snippets of Candace Owens does not mean I support nor follow Candace Owens. I have the discernment to know controlled opposition when I see one. But when they speak truth about the Matrix, the information can be used. If it's information that is not true, then it will be counteracted. But in this case, It is the truth. So let's hear it.
So you may have heard of a man named Aleister Crowley. If you haven't, I'll provide you with some brief spark notes. Aleister Crowley was an Englishman. He was also a drug abuser. He was a bisexual who is credited with heavily influencing the eventual counterculture revolution of the 60s in America. Free love, free love. Yeah, that book, Chaos. Things got weird and satanic in the 60s in America. And America is where this Englishman, Aleister Crowley, eventually moved. But what he is most famous for is black magic. He was an occultist who pledged his allegiance to demons. He believed that he could summon demons, okay? The story goes that when he was 13 years old, he read the book of Revelation in the Bible, and he became inspired, not by Jesus Christ, but by the seven-headed beast that is written by the whore of Babylon. So in case you are somebody that's not familiar with the Bible and Revelations, they talk about this seven-headed beast that rules over every tribe and people and tongue and nation, okay? So it's satanic. It's a satanic beast. When Aleister got older, he started a religious cult, a satanic cult known as the Lima. Crowley believed that the number of the beast, 666, was significant. He believed that humanity was entering in a new eon and that his religious motto, which was do what thou wilt, would rule it, right? He believed that actually he could create this beast and rule over nations by practicing rituals. He routinely practiced sex rituals. He believed in masochistic and sadistic sex, believed in free love, and he was very much connected to the elite in America. He was just openly publishing articles for Vanity Fair because he was best friends with their editor, and many of the elite in our society were his followers and believers. A Satanist. This is a fact. You can look this up. One such follower was a man named Jack Parsons, another wealthy young man. And here's what you should know about this time period. Before Jack Parsons enters the scene in America, the scientific consensus was that we would never enter space, that was an impossibility. But this rich kid, who also happened to be an occultist and who also would perform sex rituals and blood sacrifice to summon demons, well, no, he expressed the belief that they could fundamentally alter humanity, and he had a vision. He said, no, we can make this work. We can get to space. Check out this article. Again, this is published. You can look this up yourself. Here's the headline: Sex, Rocket Science, and Satanism. Meet NASA's real hidden figures. And I'm going to read you directly from this article because it's so unbelievable. My jaw was on the floor. I'm skimming through it because it's way too long. It would make this show forever, but we will link it, and you absolutely must read it. It reads, quote, Jack Parsons is barely acknowledged on NASA's website, and he's the man who made rockets a reality and co-founded the agency's Jet Propulsion Lab, JPL, home to missions which paved the way for the Apollo programs and continue to explore Mars and outer space today. If Parsons' life story was a film script, it would be dubbed preposterous. He invented jet propulsion technology in the face of industry-wide derision that rockets would never exist, but was also a senior figure in the occult and invited L. Ron Hubbard, yes, L. Ron Hubbard of Scientology, into his confidence and riotous sex parties. Parsons tried to sell his government-funded inventions to Israel before winding up dying at the age of 37 in a self-created explosion, leaving a mass of disturbing materials for his friends to discover. Here's the remarkably twisting tale of his life. So he too, like Aleister Crowley, was just interested in the demonic when he was young. He also liked science fiction. His story begins when he's 14 years old. And as a fan of science fiction, he decides to begin experiments that would eventually shape his life with his school friend named Edward Foreman. The pair took to playing with rockets in Parsons' back garden and soon created their own solid-fueled rockets. He first summoned the devil at age 13 in a terrifying experience.
The SparkNotes history that she gave about JPL and NASA was thoroughly explained, and that is why I used her video snippets in this video. Now, let's look at this image. When I first saw this image, it left an indelible impression on my memory because it rings true in the spiritual realm. It says, the key to understanding the moon landing hoax is to realize that it is not scientific deception, it is spiritual deception. Symbolism in Freemasonry is important. The NASA logo includes the forked tongue of a serpent to symbolize that it is under the control of the great serpent, Satan, that is talked about in Revelation 12:9, who deceives the whole world. It goes on to say, the serpent never speaks the truth, which is said in John 8, verse 44, that the devil is the father of lies. Now, I will delve some more into the moon landing hoax at the end of this video, but leading up to, let's do a compare and contrast of the Father's word versus the serpent's word as it pertains to creation. Let's go. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to 2, Father's word says, in the beginning, Yah created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of Yah was hovering over the waters. This is the truth. The serpent, NASA, and other scientific agencies say that the universe was formed from a big bang. That is a lie. This image shows the serpent's version of creation from the Big Bang, and it is now said by the serpent that the creation is 13.8 billion years old. Let's see a video of them explaining this.
Have you ever wondered how the universe began and how everything around us came into existence? This question introduces us to the concept of the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory is the prevailing scientific explanation for the origin and evolution of the universe. It suggests that approximately 13.8 billion years ago, all matter and energy in the universe were compressed into an incredibly dense and hot state. Suddenly, this state began to expand rapidly, giving rise to the universe as we know it today. Imagine the universe as a rapidly inflating balloon. At a certain point in time, the balloon was so small that it contained all the matter and energy that would eventually form stars, galaxies, planets, and everything else we observe in the cosmos. The expansion of the balloon represents the expansion of space and the spreading out of galaxies in the universe, driven by the force unleashed during the Big Bang. Have you ever wondered how the universe began and how everything around us came into existence?
Darwin's theory of evolution.
This question introduces us to the concept of the Big Bang Theory.
That Earth is
The Big Bang Theory is the prevailing scientific explanation for the origin and evolution of the universe. It suggests that approximately 13.8 billion years ago, all matter and energy in the universe were compressed into an incredibly dense and hot state. Suddenly, this state began to expand rapidly, giving rise to the universe as we know it today. Imagine the universe as a rapidly inflating balloon.
Their family line.
At a certain point in time, the balloon was so small that it contained all the matter and energy that would eventually form stars, galaxies, planets, and everything else we observe in the cosmos.
To bury the mind beneath another layer of deception and give depth to the narrative that the Earth is 13.8 billion years old, the serpent threw in dinosaurs, a CGI green screen animation creation. Because once you have deceived the masses into believing that this is real, even though scripture does not support this, it becomes hard to convince the people that they have been deceived. Let's continue.
So good morning, Susie. It's lovely to have you with us in front of the brand new Diplodocus called Fern. What can you tell us about Fern?
Well, Fern is an exact replica of Dippy the Diplodocus, who you might remember was in the Central Hall of the NHM until it went on tour around the UK.
Absolutely.
And is now at the Herbert Museum and Art Gallery for 3 years in Coventry. Now, when it came back to the NHM here, it was 3D scanned. Every single bone was 3D scanned.
Oh, wow.
And then was cast in bronze to form Fern. And actually, we took the opportunity to correct a few little mistakes in the original cast, because the original cast is over 100 years old. So we were able to just make a few little tweaks to make it even more scientifically accurate.
Even more incredible. And you mentioned casts. So when a paleontologist would find a skeleton out in the wilds of Africa or on America somewhere, what are they actually finding?
So we find fossilized bones. Now, these will be a combination between actual bone tissue and minerals that have infiltrated the bone over the millions of years that it has been buried and precipitated out and have replaced some of the bone. So it depends a little bit on the environment in which they've been preserved. But there is original bone material, but also kind of some of it has been replaced by minerals.
Wow. And when you come to somewhere like the Natural History Museum and you walk into the halls or you come outside, are what you're seeing those fossilized bones, or are they something different?
Sometimes they're those fossilized bones, and sometimes they're replicas. And there's lots of different reasons why we might choose to put on display a replica, which is a cast or exact copy of the bones, rather than the real material.
Then we get to Genesis 1, verse 6, which says, "And I am said, let there be an expanse between the waters, to separate the waters from the waters." This image supports what this scripture says. Genesis 7, verse 11 to 12 says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. This confirms that there is water above." The serpent says that the background in space is black because it cannot scatter light. The Father's word in 2 Enoch chapter 3 to chapter 22 discusses the dimensions of the heavens that Enoch ascended in, and in none of those dimensions was it ever described that earth is a ball spinning in vast darkness and has no light. Father's word in Psalm 104 verse 5 says, "He set the earth on its foundations so that it should never be moved." That is the truth. The serpent says, "Earth is spinning at 1,037 miles per hour and hurtling through space." That is a lie, and this is not supported by scripture. Father's words in Genesis 2 verse 7 says, "Then I am formed a man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." This is the truth. The serpent says that life was brought to earth by panspermia. Panspermia is the hypothesis that life exists throughout the universe, distributed by space dust, meteoroids, asteroids, or comets, suggesting life on Earth originated elsewhere. This is a lie.
Now, they have found evidence of microbes on Mars, correct?
Well, it's not
Not
conclusive.
evidence?
We need to bring materials back. It's called sample return, and NASA has plans. We need to bring a sample back to Earth so that in our laboratories we can do isotope analysis and make sure that whatever signatures we see on the rocks there that do look as if they were made by microbes, because we know that Mars had an atmosphere like the Earth. By the way, Mars may have had life before the Earth because it's a smaller body, so it has a bigger surface area for its mass. The mass of the object tells you how much heat it can retain from the formation process, and then the surface area tells you how fast it can cool. And Mars could have cooled faster than the Earth. So life may have started on Mars, actually, because it had rivers, lakes, oceans of water, and it could have been actually delivered to Earth. We might be all Martians, and when Elon Musk considers going to Mars, it might be the second trip around. We might be going back to our childhood home because there were tiny astronauts inside rocks that were chipped off the surface of Mars that arrived to Earth and seeded the Earth with life as we know it.
Panspermia.
Yeah, and in
Something the serpent will always do in this matrix is that it will always send out the experts. The experts are usually decorated with degrees and high knowledge, and they are tasked with making sure that the masses believe whatever it is that the serpent is pushing. And so in this case, as it pertains to panspermia, they send out their expert from Harvard University because with a backing from such a university, we will believe that they are the smartest people in the room and whatever they say must be true. Let's continue. All right, so another feature about space that fascinated me were black holes. I thought they were so mysterious when I first heard about them, and I was curious to learn the mystery behind them. What could cause these space anomalies? And of course, watching movies like Interstellar and TV shows like Stargate further instigated my curiosity. Now, when I learned of Einstein's theory of gravitational waves back in 2015, that further blew my mind. This theory says that when two black holes collide in space, it causes gravitational waves, which sends ripples through space and causes time to expand and contract, and even causes Earth's atmosphere to expand and contract. That was fascinating to me, right? So if NASA saw this and captured this event on video, they would have showed it to us, right? One would imagine. But that's when my belief in these things started to fall apart. But before I get more into that, let's hear how the serpent explains it from the mouth of people who believe in these things.
Scientists just discovered a monster black hole collision. It's the biggest that we've ever seen. Two black holes of masses 100 and 140 times our sun collided with each other billions of light years away. Meanwhile, here on Earth, two different observatories were shining lasers down these concrete tubes 4 kilometers long when they noticed a tiny change in that light. When they analyzed it, they saw that we were feeling ripples in the fabric of the universe called gravitational waves that were caused by those two black holes colliding and creating a combined black hole weighing 225 times our sun, which we know about by shooting lasers down concrete tubes. To go inside those tunnels, follow along.
Sounds fascinating, right? Now, with all the advanced technology and with all the money that has been pumped into these agencies for research and development to bring us these discoveries, let's take a look at the video that was sent out after the discovery of this event was made. Yeah, a simulation video. That was the actual video that was released after such a major event was captured on camera. This is what taxpayers' money have been going to. After I saw this video, I thought to myself, this doesn't make sense. And that's when my belief in these things started to fall apart. And then as the years went on and more discoveries were made and Father started to open my eyes, I started to realize this is a lie from the Matrix to control a narrative that will then lead to aliens that are actually demons that will eventually come to Earth. And now in 2026, this is what they are talking about. Once again, the serpent speaks lies and never the truth. Let it be understood in this satanic matrix that the enemy operates in a very strategic and timely manner. After NASA released the video of the two black holes colliding in 2015 with that cartoon pop sound, NASA then released a viral soundbite of eerie sound allegedly coming out of a black hole in May 2022 and again in August 2022. And many of you might remember this. Allegedly, the audio comes from the supermassive black hole at the center of the Perseus galaxy cluster, located 250 million light years away. You cannot make this up. You know, in present time with my spiritual understanding and thinking back to that time when this soundbite was released, it makes me think of Revelation chapter 9, verse 13 to 19, where it says, "Let the four angels loose, the angels confined at the great river Euphrates." This soundbite just sounds like fallen angels weeping and wailing to me. Take a listen and see what it communicates to your Ruach. That sounds like the weeping and wailing of the angels mentioned in Revelation chapter 9 that are confined at the Euphrates River. But that's just my opinion. Now let's turn our attention to the moon landing hoax. In 2026, the serpent of this matrix still wants us to believe that they went to the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972. And 54 years later, in 2026, we are to believe that they made another voyage around the moon and will actually land on the moon in 2027. Within that 54-year gap, they were able to get evidence of 2 black holes colliding and get sound from a black hole 250 million light years away. But they were not able to go back to the moon. The world is a stage, and the script was written a long time ago. Even Buzz Aldrin, one of the astronauts from that mission, basically said that it was a script. Take a listen, because nothing is new under the sun. Let's hear him.
This is fascinating. I remember very clearly, I think anybody who was alive at the time does. I remember my parents waking me up and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. See, you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memories.
I know.
Well, no, but what we saw was we all were gathered around the old curved top radio and listened.
Talking about, how many feet we were going to the left and right. And then I said, contact light, engine stop.
It's
exciting. A few other things. And then Neil said, Houston, Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed. Man, how about that?
That was very exciting.
Not a bad line.
Wow. Yeah. This was... What?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Academy Award goes to these 2 actors who are playing their part effortlessly in this psychological operation, or PSYOP, using the enemy's favorite medium, which is entertainment, because in doing so, the masses is not able to deduce, is it real or is it not? Are they acting or is it? Because this is how the Matrix operates. It uses deception. Notice how Conan O'Brien was acting as if he didn't want to accept the truth, but then again, he's playing his part. And so was Buzz Aldrin, who is a Freemason. They are following the script. It's the same script over and over again because nothing is new under the sun. Now let's take a look how the newcomers are living up to the script they are given in 2026. These astronauts are the ones who made a 9-day voyage around the moon this year and who will allegedly land on the moon in 2027. Let's watch their act.
And honestly, what struck me wasn't necessarily just Earth, it was all the blackness around it. Earth was just this lifeboat hanging undisturbingly in the universe. Uh-oh. So I may have not learned, I know I haven't learned everything that this journey has yet to teach me. But there's one new thing I know, and that is planet Earth, you are a crew. Yeah. Thank you. Three, take it away.
All right, thanks, Courtney, and thanks to everyone for being here and watching online. Victor, Christina, Jeremy, we're going to the moon. It has been an amazing journey the last 2.5 years, and we really see the light at the end of the tunnel. I want to bridge. This is going to be an odd answer. It might land wrong, but I'm going to try anyway. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon, and we're going to have humans in low Earth orbit. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon, and we're going to have humans in low Earth orbit. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon, and we're going to have humans in low Earth orbit. That is awesome. Like, we should, as humanity, we should take a brief moment to go, that's awesome.
This movie poster. This might as well be Interstellar or something. Coming out in theaters, summer 2026. For all the NASA believers, I want you to look at this green screen mistake. There's letters in this little ball thing. Why? That's a huge, colossal mistake that NASA made. You still believe it? NASA needs to give this up. And by the way, in 2027, they're going to send Artemis 3, which is going to have lunar landers. They're going to actually physically walk on the moon and put rovers and crap on the moon. This is a visualization of Artemis 2 re-entry. I don't want to see CGI and animations. I want to see, you can put a camera on a satellite and just film the re-entry. Don't do no animations.
Exactly. Where is the proof? Where is the real footage? With the billions of dollars spent and with the advancement in technology, only a CGI or simulation video, it does not make sense. And like I said earlier in the video, that's when my belief started to fall apart. When they allegedly claimed that they proved Einstein's theory that when two black holes collide, it caused gravitational waves in space that causes a ripple throughout space-time, I wanted to see the proof. And when I did not see that proof, that's when I started to realize that this is a lie from the serpent that controls this matrix.
Show is over for NASA, and they will not be able to conceal the truth much longer. Astronauts involved in the Artemis 2 mission made an unintentional mistake that reveals the moon mission is fabricated and that they are not actually in space. In the footage, a moment is highlighted where a plush toy appears to glitch, followed by the unusual appearance of the word moon on screen. These anomalies are interpreted as proof that the scene was filmed in a studio using green screen technology. In this view, the images presented to the public, such as astronauts inside spacecraft appearing to move and interact in space, are staged representations. The real situation resembles a film production. Individuals suspended by harnesses, similar to techniques used in movies with green screens, wind machines, and other equipment designed to simulate a space environment. Although the production may appear convincing, it is considered not real. The conclusion is that the truth will eventually be revealed, possibly through someone breaking a non-disclosure agreement and exposing the fabrication. Until then,
again, these missions are not genuine moon journeys, but staged scenes filmed in a studio using green screen technology.
Have it, guys. That's the origins of NASA and the program, the Jet Propulsion Program, we're going to make it to space mission. But don't worry, it would be totally crazy for you guys to think that Satan worshipers are still involved in NASA. Obviously, after it got started, they went totally clean. Everything was been above board. Nobody believes in this stuff anymore. And everything's great and everything is normal. And now suddenly, I guess if the goals of Aleister Crowley was to create a society that would deceive the entire world, now suddenly in the West, we don't believe any of this stuff.
And that is a concise history of JPL and NASA and the current role that they are playing in this satanic matrix. Now, let's talk about aliens, which are actually demons. Recently, there was a major revelation from 6 unique pastors that were chosen to be given some secret information. On all of these pastors' social media pages, the messaging was the same. It says, "The rumors are real. I was brought into a private briefing with other pastors. No phones, no cameras, no recordings. We were told plainly, disclosure is coming, and what follows could shake the faith of many. If pastors don't begin preparing people now, it may be too late. What do you think is happening?" Now, what would make secret agencies bring in these 6 pastors of all the pastors they could have chosen to give this information? You see, the beast is using Christianity and the pastors thereof to lead the people to the beast, and we have to be careful. All this talk of aliens are actually demons. But if we keep our eyes on the prize of the Messiah in King Emmanuel, we shall not be deceived by the wiles of the devil. Remember this, my people, and stay vigilant. Here is another one of the 6 pastors saying the same thing on his social media page. It says, "The news is true. I was brought into a private meeting with other pastors. Phones off, no recordings. We were warned. Disclosure is coming, and many will be unprepared for what follows. Pastors must begin preparing their people now." Preparing them for what? And we have to ask ourselves, why in this matrix would these pastors be selected? Just as I said before, that is because they are following a script from the serpent. It should remind you of these video clips coming up, that it operates from a high level down to a low level, but the script is still the same. Just as Buzz Aldrin, the actornaut, said to Conan O'Brien. Do you remember these videos?
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Millions of Americans staying at home are relying on Amazon.
Amazon has transformed its operations in response to COVID-19 to protect employees and keep packages flowing.
Amazon has transformed its operations in response to COVID-19 to protect employees and keep packages flowing.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy while still delivering those packages to your doorstep.
The company is keeping employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy. The company is keeping its employees safe and healthy.
It spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
It has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
It has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
It has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
Amazon says it has spent $800 million on increased wages and overtime pay during the pandemic.
Every single one of Amazon's workforce of nearly 1 million people has played a critical role in making these changes happen.
I hope that they feel that passion that we have for safety,
so they can stay safe and healthy while you do too.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
The El Paso, Las Cruces communities.
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about trouble and irresponsible, one-sided news stories
Plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Remember, my people, in this satanic matrix, the serpent loves to use his favorite tool of deception, which is television and media. It is called news because the lie goes in every direction of north, east, west, and south. Finally, to the believers and the seekers of Yah, remember his words about his creation. The earth is a circle, Isaiah 40, verse 22, made with a compass, Proverbs 8, verse 27, laid upon a face, Genesis 1, verse 2, which is bounded, Job 26, verse 10, at its ends, Job 38, verse 13, it does not move, Psalm 93, verse 1, and is covered by a dome, Genesis 1, 6 to 8, containing the sun, moon, and stars, Genesis 1, 14 to 18, which are revolving, Enoch 75, 3 to 4. Above and below is water, Genesis 1, 6 to 8. Without mentioning these scriptures specifically, it would read, the earth is a circle made with a compass, laid upon a face which is bounded at its ends. It does not move, and is covered by a dome, containing the sun, moon, and stars, which are revolving. Above and below is water. All praises to the Most High Yah. And some honorable scriptures to mention. Psalm 104, verse 5, Isaiah 45, verse 18, 1 Chronicles 16, verse 30, and Psalm 96, verse 10. Until next time, Shalom.